Order. Good morning to everyone. Are we on the air, Nick? Okay. Clerk will call the roll, please.
Joe Baradka.
Excused.
Robert Kopish. Larry Palachuk.
Here.
Patty Stephen.
Here.
Dennis Worko.
This is Jason too. I'm online.
Thanks, Jason.
Public comment and communications. Is there anyone here for public comment? Online, if you have anything to say, to unmute yourself at *6.
I do have one communication. We've been receiving email communication, or one of the board members, Patty's been receiving email communication from an individual who's asking the committee to look at the CBD, or not CBD, the Delta 8 ordinance that was passed a while back. He's been vigilant, I guess. He's been emailing quite often to have that talked about, so I just wanted to bring it up that there was communication. Talked to the sheriff, talked to whoever. At this time, we did not add it to the agenda for discussion.
That would be an item for a future agenda then?
That'd be up to you and
Discuss
the
that.
sheriff. We did bring it up twice already. So after the ordinance passed, we brought it back. It was discussed again. Nothing was changed. But this individual has been communicating with us quite often, asking for it to be reconsidered.
None of the other 14,000 residents are?
This individual isn't even a resident. They're outside the county, but they had, I believe they're in the Hawkins area.
They don't live here.
They do live here. Brian shaking his head. Well, they had
That was the question. If they don't live here, why would we even?
yeah. They've been communicating, asking us to review it.
It started with a phone call to my house, so he's been emailing since.
So do you want it on the agenda? I think that's the right process. You go to your elected official and they work it for an agenda. I don't know. I mean, we have one person say something and we're going to
Well-
put it on the agenda.
He has been invited in response on these emails, and
Who invited him?
well, I respond that it's an open meeting. He's welcome to attend. If it's not on the agenda, it would be a 2-minute public comment, and if it's on the agenda, he's welcome to come in and speak.
What is I'd like to hear have the sheriff's input on that. Your moment in the sun, Brian.
This is kind of a procedural issue. We're not really talking the issue, but it's a procedural issue. So we really shouldn't be doing a lot of conversation and public comment, but I think it's a procedural issue. So I don't really have a problem with it.
Mhm.
I did a review of the emails, Patty, and I've been copied in on a number of items. It's really a board decision if you guys want to revisit this. The individual I guess we're talking about is pending charges right now here in Price County. So, I mean, I don't know if that's something that he wants to mirror what he's going through in the court system, but that's up to him. So, but if that's what the board's flavor is to revisit it, I'm fine with the way the ordinance is right at this time, unless we can show other factors or other means, but right now it stands what it is.
If I may, Mr. Chair, I'd recommend we just let him come in for public comment. And if he doesn't,
Yeah, that would be
move on.
my suggestion. And if he emails you back again, Patty, you can reiterate that to him. Tell him he's more than welcome to come. Okay. So with that, we'll put that to rest. Anything else, Nick? What is your pleasure on the meeting minutes from our October 16th meeting?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Kopish, seconded by Dennis to approve. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now we've got a discrepancy in the agenda. Our coroner was highly offended that he was not first on the agenda, so.
I do apologize.
Is that what all that discussion was?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, jeez.
He said if I don't correct it, he may not come back. So at this time, we'll take our coroner. He's on a real tight schedule today. Okay, your moment in the sun, James.
Wonderful. We had 16 calls in January and 15 patients. This fall.
Larry, do you want to?
You want to put your mic on so that they can hear you online?
I don't know how you can turn it on. This fall and early winter were very quiet. January was really busy. We had 2 deaths with unusual circumstances that resulted in autopsies, and I have 2 vouchers for $3,045. And that's pretty well it for the month.
Anyone have any questions for him? Okay, hearing none. We thank you for your support.
Thank you, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Yep, thanks for coming. You can stay for the rest of the meeting if you like. It'll be well worth the price of admission.
Well, I got a ton of errands to run.
Okay. See ya.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Appreciate
Thanks.
your time. Yep.
You're welcome. Resolution urging Governor Evers and the Wisconsin Legislature to support the county courts. I have a copy of it here somewhere, but
Back one
you
more.
want to speak to that, Brian?
This one came out of the clerk of courts. Lisa can't be here today. She had something going on. What this is recently the WCCCA, which is the Wisconsin Clerk of Courts Association, along with WCA, WCEA, and there's one other group. They've been working with legislators to let them know that we have a mandated service that isn't being funded. The WCCA has brought forward this resolution to say we're urging the counties to let the governor know that, hey, this is a mandated service, the court system, you're not funding it. We're falling farther and farther behind. We're using local funds that we shouldn't be using for this to fund the courts. What the ask is from WCCCA is $70 million, which none of us believe is the actual amount that's needed to cover the costs that counties are putting into the court system. WCA, I talked to them because I'm on a subcommittee where we're discussing this. We've met with Speaker Voss twice now, along with a couple other representatives. We're not at a point where we know what the end result might even look like. However, we know we're all asking for additional funding. The 70 million is a starting point, and hopefully we see something going forward. So Lisa asked me to bring this forward for her association. We'll eventually see one through WCA to also let representatives know that there's a number we're looking for to help alleviate the cost of the court system and the backlog. So that's kind of the history of this one.
Will you read the now therefore be it resolved?
By Price County Board of Supervisors, the Price County joins the Wisconsin Clerk of Courts Association, WCCA, and the Wisconsin Counties Association, WCA, in efforts to increase the circuit court cost appropriation by $70 million payable to Wisconsin counties in 25 through 27 with the state budget.
Okay, is there support on the committee to pass that on?
So what are we being asked to do?
We're just saying, we're asking for the $70 million and we're gonna send it to
But
Beavers.
is this an action item here? Is this a
Nope, this
resolution
is a
that we're really
resolution.
doing?
Yep.
Although we don't have in front of us. Is that something we can get a copy of?
Yeah, I'll put those copies right away.
Okay.
They should have been in the packet.
And yeah, anybody find it in the packet? No.
No, it was on,
Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh, well, then that'll keep you from having to make some copies.
Yeah. Sorry. Updated packet, I guess.
All right.
Because of the amendment. So. Making sure they're- Thank you. Sorry about that.
Okay, thank you.
Where we're seeing, well, you guys are kind of, where we're seeing the biggest push for this is a lot of counties, southeast Wisconsin. Brown County is the largest backlog of cases. I think they're over 5,000 cases behind. Southeast, where they're struggling, well, really throughout the whole state, is interpreter costs and just getting individuals available for that. It's not being reimbursed by the mandated service that's not getting paid for by the state. A lot of counties are bringing in ADAs at their own cost to try to get cases through. They're seeing additional staff. Where we'll see the biggest push or the overage, we've done well. We still put county money in, but if eventually we need bailiffs or we need additional safety, that's where we're gonna get really pushed, not to the limit. They asked myself to be on that subcommittee because we're a smaller county. So like my story to tell is when we do have a high profile case, we have to take individuals off the road to come into the court system for a couple hours. Well, that leaves our road have less coverage. So it's less about the funding because we're covering it. We're still paying for it in a different way, but we're also making services less where they should be covered at an average amount, like on the road. And that's what the speaker's looking for before they recommend moving forward with funding, is how are you going to become, if we distribute this funding, how is it going to help your court system? Not just cool, you get cover the cost. What's going to change? And so like the smaller counties, our story is we keep people on the road rather than in the courtroom. We get people through the court system faster, so they're not waiting in jail. So there's a less of a cost on holding.
So I think I heard you say that the state is not providing the funding that they should be providing?
By $150 million is the estimate. Yep.
Really?
As a mandated service. Yeah.
Okay, and it sounds like the legislature is still on the fence on whether they want to proceed. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And what would be their issue? What is the main
Where are we
issue?
going to get the money?
Where are the state going to get the money?
Yeah.
Well, they got this big pile of money they keep doling out of. I don't know. I keep hearing you're going to have this for this and this and this and this. From all that ARPA stuff. Governor's got it.
I'm just
I
telling
think
you.
it's there.
That's why we're asking.
Okay. All right. Understand. So what do you want, motion of,
all it's to pass it on to county board for approval.
so moved?
Motion by Bob. Patty, you have a question?
I have a question. It says 70 million payable to Wisconsin counties.
Mhm.
How much would we, let's say it passed, how
Yeah.
much would we expect?
So that's one of our main discussion points in this subcommittee with legislators is we can't continue to just distribute, population, because that's not going to help where it needs to be helped. We've talked about how do you create like a, what's your expectation? We do this in a lot of other mandated services. The state says we expect this to get done with this cost. So we're looking for something maybe like that, where it says, okay, in order to run the minimum court size would be one judge, one judicial assistant, and 3 people in your clerk of courts. That's what we as a state believe you should be able to get all your cases through at this many caseload. So then they can base it. And then this is what the funding would be. If you as a county feel you want to have a higher customer service, or you have this, and this going on, you can then put money towards that. So right now, in the past, it's usually like you get X percent of it because you're this size county based on population. They might do it on caseload. They might do it on jail size. They might do it on who knows. So first we got to get money allocated, then we can argue over how it's distributed.
Okay.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Patty. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Marcy Rainbolt is that still her last name? Marcy from WCA is the the lobbyist on this task. If anybody wants to talk to her at any time.
Okay, item 5, District Attorney Department Report. Do you have anything from that, Nick?
No, I haven't talked to Matt in the last couple of weeks. I think it's going well. His office is staffed. It seems to be going well. So.
Any committee member have anything for Nick on that? Item 6, I'll accept the District Attorney Department Report. Clerk of Circuit Court Department Report. Anything, Nick?
Nope. Like I said, she was gone today. Her big thing was this resolution that came through her committee or her association. Otherwise, she's also full staffed, has been for a while now, which is great. We're starting to see some retention. Seems like everything's again going well. We have with the new judge in place, it's catch up time, but it seems to be going well.
Okay. Any committee member have anything to add to that? I'll accept the Clerk of Circuit Court report. Here's the biggie. Sheriff's Office Department Report.
I can do this one too for you if you want. Oh, okay.
The chief deputy is going to be handing out, we did get a jail inspection report. I know that in years past, prior to county administrator, the chair I think of law enforcement would get a copy of the jail inspection report. So that'll help you, I guess, see
Thanks, Bob.
what the DOC has indicated for our jail.
Thank you.
So if you want to take a look at that. And then also being handed out is last year's CAD calls, which are the volume of calls that the dispatch center, the deputies, us as a county handle. And then you'll see that there are law records that drills down into the CAD calls as to what is taken in more detail as far as reports, case files, and referrals, whether to the district attorney's office or to another agency or to Health and Human Services. So if you have any questions in that regard, it kind of gives you a little, I guess, view of last year. You know, with the coroner's report last year, we had a number of deaths. This year already, we've got the 2 deaths in January here. So when you see a lot, the numbers, you'll see that just because the number says there's 1 or 2 items, it does take hours and hours of labor to resolve some of these issues. So just want to make you guys aware of some of the calls that the deputies, investigators, and the jail obviously have to deal with some of these things too. Yeah. So CAD calls are where people will call in, whether it's suspicious, a suspicion complaint, or they'll call in like even a traffic complaint. Someone parked on the highway and you see someone sitting on the side of the highway. Motorist assist, things that generally are just really either handled right there on the phone or they're handled by some activity of an deputy or investigator, and then the law records are basically we do with referrals, you know, the burglaries, the thefts, things of that nature.
So you mentioned we had 2 deaths this year.
Well, we had one in Crawley. I went up to that one. That was in the middle of the night. And then there was the one on 111. There was a suicide on 111. So, and again, that's what Jim is telling you about because of the added expenses of the cause of death autopsies.
And last year we had 16, if I'm reading this right, death investigations. That would mean there were 16 of them?
Well, we do. Yeah, we had the murder suicide in January last year.
Yeah.
We had the homicide in Park Falls, which, you know, that was in the city, but the county did have, we had as many people as possible out. And then again, the individual that was arrested is housed in the county jail. So, and then we had a reckless homicide with drugs, an activity there. Then we also had the body in October on Highway 13. So that was, again, the expenses and the death investigation. You may see a number, but doesn't really correlate to the time spent dealing with that type of call. And again, dealing with all the people that we have to get out and work with and deal with. But it was awesome to watch Russ County, Taylor, Lincoln. We had Wood County, Marshfield. We had DCI. We had a number. I think we had 12 DCI agents up here. I mean, we had a lot of people, boots on the ground, you know, that whole week. So, yeah.
One thing that I want to point out to this committee is in October when we had that body found along the side of the highway, as the sheriff was saying, how it was awesome to see how all these agencies came in to assist us. Just to put it in perspective, in 2 days we were able to canvass from Ladysmith to Tomahawk, from Park Falls down to Marshfield, just in 2 days. And we're stopping at every house, every store, looking for video, seeing if anybody saw anything. So, I mean, when you're talking that many resources coming in to assist us on that, and then it was 3 days later, 3 days after we found the body, we were able to make an arrest in that case. So the resources that were brought in for this were astronomical and greatly, greatly appreciated.
So it gives you just some idea of some of the calls and the volume of calls. The jail inspection report just gives you a snapshot of what the staff, how it's been appreciated by DOC. We are the smallest jail in the state. But however, we certainly house, I think, more than some of the jails that are a little larger than ourselves. So you can see that. I do keep the numbers a little higher like we've always done in the past for the time I've been sheriff. We do utilize the electronic monitoring at times, and we still have one individual, I believe, in Oneida County yet that try to alleviate. And just an example, like last night, a search warrant was utilized and there were a number of individuals arrested. And again, when you have that 2, 3, 4 people are brought in one incident, that raises our population. And so we have to deal with that. And then you have your pre-sentenced individuals versus your post-sentenced. And then you have certain blocks and certain people that can stay with other people. So it's a shell game a lot of times for the jail staff. But it gives you an idea. So,
Brian, do you want to talk about, so we've been lucky to have the staff we do, male, female. We're seeing a lot of jails throughout the north struggling with staff. And even, it's not necessarily staff itself, but like we're required to have a male and a female on the floor, where some counties can't find female jailers, and so their costs are affected.
So I believe Iron County is one that does not house females anymore. I believe Ashland has done away with that. We still house females. We have quite a few females in jail. So you're required by code, by the state statute, to have at least one male, one female on the floor at all times. We've talked about that for years.
So these counties are not housing females?
Well, they'll ship them out. They'll
okay.
send them to other counties.
But they still are required to. If they can't ship them out, they have to do it, don't they?
They have to do something.
Yeah.
So generally, but the problem we're going to have is if you have a working Huber, which there was, I think, at one time, the county got sued many, many years ago.
Yeah.
And it's, I want to say it was in the late 80s, early 90s, if I remember right. And the county got sued because we had a female, and the sheriff at the time shipped the individual, and then they sued the county because they have a job and you have to allow them to work under court order.
Yeah.
So-
I heard some counties, as far as taking inmates, when we ship out, that they won't take females. Is that true?
Some, if they.
That is
have-
true then.
that They have some housing issues.
Yeah,
but, we've been fortunate. We're fully staffed in the jail right now.
Yeah, I see that
Finally.
on the report.
But last year we were struggling to get a couple, and we finally got the full timers we need. Now it's just part timers that would be nice to fill. That obviously in staffing issues, because we do have a deputy being put on orders. He's being deployed. So we'll lose a deputy off of one of our rotations. I have a part timer on orders right now at Fort Benning, Fort Moore. And then we do have another individual military. I don't think he's going to get deployed yet. So, and then we have a full-time opening right now as far as deputy. So that's going to impact us this summer heavily.
Going back to the housing, we're seeing we have great partners in the local or closer jails that they're available to help us with 1, 2 here or there. There are several facilities that are like the 1.5 to 2 hours away. Chippewa, Marathon, Barron County, I believe, is one. They're all wide open for if we need space. It's just that's a transportation nightmare, distance wise for court, for just getting them there. So I'm not necessarily worried if like all of a sudden we had to ship, but it's just that's where all of a sudden it's not necessarily the $40 or whatever it is, $50 a day. It's the transportation cost, getting staff. If you can't get staff to even be here to watch them, how are you going to get staff to transport?
When Marathon ships they ship like 100. They're in Taylor County, so they spread them out all over. But Nick is correct. Right now, I think Oneida County is charging $60 a day for the individual. Taylor's generally full, so we've been trying to, Taylor, Rusk. So we try to, spread our people out if we have to go anything further. So staffing update, just like I said earlier, we have a full-time deputy opening.
Where is he deployed to?
Drew will be going to Poland. So Poland, probably. Yeah. So, so he'll be leaving, I think, this summer, and I believe it's a 10-month or 12-month deployment. So.
Wow.
And you still have to fulfill your obligations under the collective bargaining agreement. So those are some of the challenges that we face as far as staffing for this upcoming summer, dealing with vacation and dealing with, we do have some people, obviously younger people they're still starting their families. So those are another issues under the FMLA. Animal control, if you want me to go down the, Larry, if you want me to go down the list. Animal control, Mindy's been busy. We had a couple hoarding issues, which of course you've seen some of the bills that come across. There is a contract that's been dealt with Catkins. Nick and Bob were dealing with that. Canine units, going down through there. They're doing well. I know that there was a couple, Dixon got a couple of stops in, got some meth out of the vehicles. So he does have his own little Facebook page where he does talk about in his own words, so to speak. Joe does that as far as the handler, just telling people, don't do this type of stuff.
Brian, going back to the humane officer, if you look at your number of calls, it is under animals there was 273. Under lost and found animals there's 163, which both are in that 2. So between the two, it's 5% of our calls. That's a lot even when you're spreading it out over this many. And that's, we didn't predict it, but we knew there was an issue, and it does help to have that specified officer to be handling these issues because it's one of our higher call volume issues.
And she's made a number of referrals to the district attorney's office. She has utilized the county ordinance as far as animal ordinance. So she is actively investigating animal crimes against animals. Rec officer. So at this point, with the deputy that we have an opening for, I have informed Nick, you guys as the county, that have moved the rec officer off rec patrol so we can utilize the person for investigations and patrol temporarily. This weekend, however, the trails are opening up. Most likely I'll put him back on rec for the weekend so we can deal with any snowmobile activities in our community. But because we are going to be short this right now, we're going to be coming up on, we're short one, but in the summer, we're going to be short quite a few. I have to probably move him back to patrol for a while. But he is active in the community and he has written and made a number of stops. And we've discussed numbers, Bob and I have. So if you guys have any questions about that. And then equipment update needs. Well, we did get that grant from for the PSAP grant. That was $100,000. It's been, we're working through that right now, updating the second dispatch, backup dispatch, and updating other equipment based on that. I have approached the county as far as portables, and we'll be talking about tasers.
The one update too for the equipment, and I don't know if Chief Deputy wants to talk about this. We're starting meetings to discuss the utilization of the towers. Robert knows more about it. TJ and I are joining in starting next 17th? It was a Monday afternoon.
So on the 17th, we're going to be in discussions with Northway and Motorola. What we're looking to do is try to put together a bundle package through Motorola to work with us on, the Bug Tussle Tower project, as far as getting our equipment on the towers that we designate there. We would also, because our portable radios have been end of life for 3 years now, I think. We're looking at potentially throwing that into the bundle, as well as body cameras, in-car cameras, things of that nature. So again, the reason why we would prefer to do the bundle package is, again, it's cost savings, right? And so those are the things that we're kind of looking at in that project. Hopefully we can get that moving forward.
Is any of this in the 25 budget?
No, it's not. This would be slated for, is it 26?
And beyond.
Yeah.
Yep.
When-
And
when
part
do
of
you
our
expect
goal
it?
with the funding
Okay,
is
go ahead.
we get that 40 basis points on the money that we're partnering with. So like this year we got 60 some thousand. Next year we get another 55, 60,000. So depending on the cost, depending on the partnership, there may be a way to do this funded over a long term, and then that just pays for it. So it would be really the project paying for the loan that we'd have for this.
Yeah, what did you decide to do with that 60,000 or whatever? Is
Just
that going
sitting
into
there.
a separate type fund or,
It went into capital improvement fund, but
Okay,
we've
but you
tracked
earmarked it kind of for?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
That's the goal.
well, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what we got to figure out. And that's why we looked at, was it Sawyer or Russ County did the RFP originally?
Yeah,
Sawyer County. So we had a pretty good baseline on what it looked like if they went for a full county upgrade on all their radio systems. The only thing we didn't have is their breakdown. Theirs included doing all the tower work themselves. So it was to build like 4 towers and do all this, and it was several $million. We've obviously farmed out the tower portion of it to Bug Tussle, so I don't know what the radio portion would be on our end yet. And that's why
and I'm hoping on Monday we'll have a better idea of what that cost of the project is going to look like.
When do you expect to see the towers, the first towers from Bug Tussle?
My understanding is they were working on it. We haven't spent any dollars, anything like that, but the Catawba one's lights on, and supposedly they're selling space on it.
On which one?
It was a Catawba area.
Catawba?
Somebody told me that the other day. They saw the light was on, blinking, so obviously there's power to it, everything, and they were selling internet packages down there already.
Now, out of all the towers, are you only planning on using some of them or are you planning on using all of them?
I would love to use all of them, but I know.
Okay,
that's
but
probably
just some
not
of them.
But
Could
some
we,
of them.
is there a way
yes.
we could prioritize those towers over other towers?
We can work with, first we want to know what the project looks like. So what Motorola did for Sawyer County is they said, here's your county, here's where, in order to cover it with 4 towers, you'd need to be here, here, and here. If you had 5 towers, we'd recommend here, here, here. If you had 6 towers, here, here, here. So we want to work with them and go, okay, what would be the best case scenario to cover Price County? Okay, 6 towers. Now we go to Bugtails and say, okay, where's the towers? Which ones will cover what we need? And then, yeah, if we need to prioritize or see what they'll do. Yep.
In a lot of it too depends on the type of equipment that the county elects to go with. You know, we have different options regarding portable radios. You know, some portable radios may be LTE based, which means if they have a cell phone signal, you know, they'll utilize the towers, but if they have a cell signal, they'll also transmit. Which
Then you would be using all towers that had a cell phone service,
right.
not only the hardwired, but yeah, we got a long discussion process ahead of us, brainstorming on what this looks like, what's the best thing for the next 10 years. Because these are usually about 10 to 15 year lifespan before you replace.
Are there any other vendors out there so you get competitive bids, or is it kind of like they're the only ones interested?
Motorola, I guess, really has the
Yeah,
market.
and we're talking Motorola, the equipment level. We're working with Northway. So there's Northway and Call something out of Eau Claire.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the other. So we just said we like the Motorola product. Northway and whoever can bid on the project, but we're working with Motorola to use that line.
So with that, our body cameras too would potentially be included in this. Body cameras and in-car cameras. Those need to be updated. The problem that we're seeing with body cameras and in-car cameras is most of these vendors are going to cloud-based storage. And with the cloud-based storage, you know, you're paying monthly fees and things like that. The sheriff's intent is to keep it stored locally. All right. So that we don't have that overhead cost, plus that record is ours. And so Motorola does offer that local based storage where a lot of the other competitors are going to cloud based storage. So we would prefer to have that local storage and control that.
And a lot of that comes down, and TJ and all of us have had those conversations, is if it's not local, there's always a potential that they won't let you gather your own data, which sounds stupid, but you don't have access to it. It's not in your hands. It's no different than a bank. Right? Oh, I believe my money's there. Well, one day that bank could close its doors, and yeah, you'll get it eventually, but go through the system, and it's that's why we talk about keeping it as local as possible. And we may utilize the cloud base as our backup because storage is not cheap, no matter how you look at it. So it's like, do we keep one record here and one on the cloud?
And then as far as the other equipment projects that we have going on right now, so regarding our flock cameras that you guys had approved last year, they were unable to get those cameras installed through the permitting process with the state and stuff like that. They were unable to get those cameras installed before the frozen road bans went on, which doesn't allow them to install that equipment along the side of the highway with the frozen roads. So in the springtime, hopefully we'll be on the priority to get those 4 cameras installed and up and operational. The one other equipment update that I have is the Dodge pickup trucks are being decaled today. So those should be put into service here, I would assume, in the next week or two. There's some small things that we have to fine tune on them before they're put out for service. But then we did place the order for the 25 squads. There will be 2 patrol vehicles and 1 investigator vehicle that'll be replaced in 25.
How many trucks is that? 2?
3.
3?
3. Yep. So you will see the sheriff did a good job designing them. So they do look nice. Though. What's that? No.
With those little spinners things?
He's the only one that can have the chrome. He has to stand out, so.
If I can go back on the storage issue, I agree with Nick as far as cloud and all this stuff. And I think with what we've done in our IT department over the years, we have good backup and all that stuff and remote storage and everything. So I'm really comfortable with where we're at, which you may not have that kind of confidence in throwing it in the cloud somewhere because
Yeah.
you don't know what they have,
And
basically.
that was, you guys agreed to build an IT facility in a sense of IT closet that's large. It's over in the sheriff's office just because that was a secure location, but it was not cheap to put in the proper fire suppression and the proper heating and cooling. It's never heated, but cooling and the entrances. And so it gave us room to grow, knowing that everything needs to be stored. Everything's becoming a digital record. Every time you email and you forward on a flyer or a PDF, that's got to be stored for 7 years. And all of a sudden for example, we sent out the handbook to every employee last couple days ago. Well, that's 160 handbooks that now are stored, because you don't just store one, you store every one of the emails with that handbook. And so storage goes fast. And then from when I started 13 plus years ago, it was like, oh, you had 1 terabyte thingy and it was this little box. Now we have hundreds of terabyte boxes sitting in a storage. So it's amazing. And it's thank the board for approving those type of things. So there's a lot of counties that don't have that.
I agree. I listened to other county supervisors talk, and we're
TJ
happy. I'm
has
happy
done a
we've
great
what we've
job
done.
asking
Yep,
and,
great job. Yep.
and doing what's best.
Well, to have good departments, you have to have a good county board backing them.
Getting back to some of the issues that we have advertised for this deputy position twice now. The first go around was about 3 weeks. We got 1 applicant. However, that individual took a position down in Stevens Point. The next go around for advertising, we did 1 individual. However, he's not certified. So it begs to offer that we need to have a discussion on recruitment a little bit and how we develop law enforcement officers in Price County. I know Park Falls, Phillips have difficulty trying to get patrol officers. One of the suggestions I made to Nicholas, because you guys hold the purse strings, is have a discussion about sending an individual to recruit school, hiring him or her into the position, and then paying him a living wage while attending recruit academy, and having dialogue with the individual to keep them with us for a number of times, sort of somewhat of a contract, like 3 years. I know other agencies do that. We have not done that. We do have a policy for part-timers after they work 400 or 500 hours. And then we go through another interviewing process. We send people as part-time to recruit school with a stipend. So we need to develop something maybe along the lines of bringing people right directly out of college or out of tech school and sending them ourselves to the academy. We've also started looking at ways of looking at people that don't even have 60 college credits, send them to recruit school, and then give them 5 years to get their 60 college credits and start developing, going down that path. So recruiting is changing. Law enforcement, jail staff, I'm assuming even any county employee to a certain degree. So those are some of the things that I know I've spoken to Nick about, and maybe an occasion to a couple of you folks too, on the side. So.
Are you taking questions?
That's up to the chair. I've been told this is his committee.
Ask all the questions you want.
Okay, I went through the jail report here.
Yep.
Yeah, just a couple comments. I noticed right down in the recommendations, the last recommendation, and I was going to ask you this question anyway, as you were talking about the issue with the jail and housing and all that stuff. But it says there's something here about completing some type of a building project. Do you have any, what's going on in your head there as far as doing something with construction?
I hope that you're not thinking that I planted the seed, because I did not plant that
Brian,
seed.
I
Robert.
did not say that. I can't imagine you would do that.
I was surprised by that comment in there. I know DOC doesn't generally put things like that. And for years, you've seen as both the law enforcement committee and county board chair, you've seen the reports and the inspection reports. It's a rarity to see that. I do know that there are issues in other jails that we're dealing with here. It's called classification. You have females, both minimum security, medium, and maximum security.
Right.
And you have males that are the same thing. You should not house mediums or minimums with maximum inmates. You know, the nonviolent, you know, you have individuals that sometimes based on our housing, we have to house people together. And that's just, they have to get along the best they can. I was surprised by that. I was. After all the years that we've discussed from probably 2000 and seeing housing out of county being, what was that, $270,000 back in those days, to now we're spending $30,000.
Did we get up that high to 270? Did we?
1999, I think 99 and 2000, I think we were around 270, 260. I'm not sure the numbers, Ref. I know they were over $200,000.
Yeah, okay. I don't remember that because we've always been in that lower number. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do remember some of those numbers,
Yeah.
but again, I have talked to Nick, you know, just if there was ever a need, because we are small, we're supposed to house 22. The 24 is holding bed 1 and holding cell 1 and 2.
Right.
You really should not be housing individuals in there more than 24 hours because of the way the setup of the room is. And so that's why, and I was surprised to see that, but we do house over that population where we have people on the floor. We do have those plastic boats, so to speak, and they have their own square footage. There is a code for a number of square footage that you're supposed to have per inmate. And then, so, you know, natural lighting, water temperature, all these controls that we have to have for these individuals. But as far as a building issue, no, I have ideas, but again, that's just me being sheriff and thinking ahead.
Okay. So nothing immediate that all of a sudden we're going to hear about.
No, I've talked to Nick. I've mentioned that if there was ever a need to, you could maybe add on somewhere else. But again, the cost, you'd have to really search it out. And then the public's perception of it, the support from the board. I was there as a deputy through the time in 96, 97, 98. It was pretty contentious in the community throughout the whole community, Park Falls, Prentice, Phillips. There was a lot of heated discussion about that. So I think you got to take it very seriously if you're going to have that kind of talk.
Yeah.
But no, as far as for me, no, I have not had any plans.
Okay. Thank you. And then one other comment, the second last paragraph, how you and your staff are complimented on professionalism and how it's evident in the day-to-day basis on the positive statements that the person received from all housing units I entered. I agree with that. I want to give you guys a pat on the back because I think that comes from management and you set an example and that goes down through the organization. And I think I feel the same way. And this also gives credibility to the report. That's why I asked question on the jail expansion because I see it's a very credible report because of those comments. And I thought that maybe there was some merit to that comment on the jail expansion.
Well, and again,
I hope
the
you get
jail-
my humor here.
I do.
Okay.
I appreciate it. But again, the staff is really doing a phenomenal job. They really deal with some of
Yeah.
we have individuals that I've gone to human services about, and I've spoken to the state DHS. There's individuals that should not be in the jail, but we have to house them because we have to get a bed for them at Mendota. They're under competency issues. So again, I did get, I guess you want to call it, I got sued for habeas corpus on 2 individuals because DHS couldn't get a bed right away for them. And then, you know, notified the county, get a hold of corporate counsel, tried to get a hold of DHS, find a place for these individuals where they can get the help they need. But we're not the only jail that deals with this. Other counties deal with this too.
Right. And those 2 claims against the county, they were The facilities opened up very quickly after those claims came through because it wasn't just us named in the claim.
You got any other questions, Robert?
Do you have anything else, Brian?
No, nothing else at this time, unless you guys have something else that you want to discuss
Do the
further.
committee members have anything? At this time, I would like to, for the benefit of those that are on Skype, I would like to read the last page from the Wisconsin Department of Corrections on our jail report. It goes, I would like to thank Lieutenant Peterson and all staff working on the day of the inspection for their cooperation during this inspection process. I also have to give kudos to all of your staff for the obvious professionalism that is evident on the day-to-day basis, based on the positive statements I received from all housing units I entered. This isn't always seen. That's signed sincerely, Douglas Ormson, Office of Detention Facilities Inspector. Thanks, Brian and Bob. You run a tight ship over there and we're proud of you. Okay, at this time, what's your pleasure on the vouchers? Have they all been around and been signed? What's your pleasure on the vouchers?
Motion to approve vouchers.
Motion by Patty. Bravely seconded by Dennis. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The tour of the evidence room is not needed at this time. It was on there in case we had something else to look at down there, but it's been taken care of. So the date of the next meeting would be March 6th.
And for those who haven't had a meeting yet this month, what we're doing is we're saying it's March, what'd you say, 5th, 6th, whatever it is. We're not talking about, oh, we don't have anything at the meeting, we'll skip it. We'll let you know within 2 weeks, week and a half of the meeting, based on the chair's need for the, yep, save the date rather than try to figure out today if we're going to skip or not. If you're not going to be available for the meeting, you can let us know whenever. But we'll work with the chairs of each committee to get that final yay or nay for each meeting.
Okay, and how is this communicated to the public? It's on our website?
Yep. So every meeting will be on the website, and then we'll just put canceled if it's canceled within that 2 weeks.
Okay.
We're usually pretty good within that 2 week mark that we know by then if there's issues.
Okay, and before we adjourn, I'd like to thank the sheriff for the clock from the old bank here in Phillips. He's been working on getting that going for a while, and we have it on our south wall. Thank you.
Okay, so.
At Bobby's urging.
Yeah, Bob's at the chief deputy's urging. If you get,
Why I do this is I've never seen an individual as excited as an office of sheriff until I met the individual who did the restoration of the clock. It's like, these are two peas in a pod.
oh boy. If you remember, Wells Fargo was closing down. You see the hallway, we have the photographs from the bank. Well, besides the photographs, I did take the clock with permission. I didn't just go in there and take something. But they were removing things and they were going to take it out of the community. So the clock sat up there, and as a kid going in the bank, you always remember that clock just sitting right at that point in the bank. So I had an opportunity to talk to Wells Fargo. They said we could have the clock. It didn't function. It is a McKittrick. It's from like the 1940s. It's the old alarm, the burglar alarm system. And this clock controlled the clock that's down on the main strip or Highway 13 here in Phillips. So this was the controlling unit for that outside clock. So I called Minneapolis, Chicago, LA, New York, looked for someone to fix the clock because it didn't work. And it's actually got a mercury switch in it. So it is from the 40s and it's old growth timber and thick glass. It's pretty heavy. It's, over 100 pounds. So got a hold of the Clock Association. I didn't realize they had a clock association. And there was an individual actually over in Rhinelander. He came and picked it up, and for a fee, which I paid for, we got it fixed. And then Josh and his crew were able to put it up. So it does take 2 keys to get it going. And then the individual that fixed the clock even looked at the grandfather clock over here. So, and he said he could fix it, but this was the priority, is to get that up and keep it in the community, because I didn't want it to leave the Phillips or Price County area at all. So just food for thought, letting you know.
I think we should get a picture of the sheriff in front of the clock.
Put it in the newspaper.
Tom, if you're online, you can schedule an appointment.
You're terrible.
You want to be the photographer, Uncle Bob? Sure. Brian, let's get your picture taken in front of that.
Someday.
Or someday. Well, you're all shaved up today. It'd be a good day.
I did that for you.
Oh, okay. Well, we've exhausted our agenda. If any of the committee members have anything they want to add or subtract?
Well, just a comment, because Meredith is new, but that's another duty that the county clerk had, was taking those pictures. I don't know if you were told that, but that's been, were you told that? Oh, okay, something new.
Not to keep the meeting going, but the newspaper did say it's definitely newsworthy. I will come over and take a photo. It was posted at Tom from the newspaper posted in our meeting.
Chief deputy works dispatch at midnight.
Not that this isn't good entertainment, but I am going to end the meeting since we've ended the agenda. You guys can keep talking. We don't
Okay.
need to record.